Hannah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you just fine. And Ms. Spencer, the meeting is yours. If you need anything, just let me know.
I will. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josephine Spencer, and I'd like to welcome you to the White Lake Township Zoning Board of Appeals. This board is a quasi-judicial board, which consists of 5 members. In order for your variance to be granted, you must receive a majority vote from the full board. In order for this board to grant a variance, you must prove a practical difficulty exists. Unfortunately, personal circumstances or financial hardships cannot be considered by this board. If your variance is granted, you have 6 months to obtain the required permits, or your variance will expire and you must reappear before this board. If your variance is denied, you have the right to appeal this decision. By state statute, you must appeal to the circuit court and have 30 days to file an appeal. There is no other township board that can overrule this decision. All cases will be heard in the order they appear on the agenda. I will call the case, staff will give their review, and the proponent will have 20 minutes to speak. The board will then ask questions of the proponent, and then the public hearing will be opened. Each member of the public who wishes to speak will have 3 minutes in which to do so. We ask you please state your name and address for the record. After the public hearing is closed, the proponent will have 5 minutes to address any questions or concerns. It will then be brought back to the board for consideration, a motion, and a roll call vote. And with that, Hannah, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Powell,
Here.
Shellac,
Present.
Spencer,
Here.
Walls,
Here.
DeHart.
Here.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a support?
I'll support.
May we have a roll call, please?
Walls,
Dave?
Yes.
DeHart,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Shellac,
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes. And do we have a motion to approve the special meeting of October 15th, 2020?
So moved.
Do we have a support?
Support.
Were there any corrections to the minutes? I just have one. It should state that I called the special meeting to order, not the regular, Hannah, but other than that, it was just minor. May we have a roll call, please?
Shellac,
Yes.
DeHart,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Walls,
Yes.
Spencer.
Yes. And with that, calling the first case, Mack Industries, Howard Mack, 8265 White Lake Road is his address. The location is 8275 White Lake Road, also identified as 1201-176-003. The request is the applicant requests to construct a building requiring a variance from Article 3.1.20.e LM light manufacturing building height due to the proposed height of the building. And with that, may we have staff report, please, Justin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, board members. Your first case tonight is a request from Mack Industries to construct a building at 8275 White Lake Road. On the screen is a site plan of the property. This site is zoned light manufacturing. It's located on the south side of White Lake Road, west of Cross Road, in Section 1 at the northeast corner of the township. The Mack Industries site is comprised of 2 parcels. The subject parcel tonight, which is addressed as 8275 White Lake Road, that's 77.5 1.58 acres, and the adjacent parcel to the east is 15.67 acres. As I mentioned, the applicant's proposing to construct a building that's 70 feet by 200 feet in size. That's 14,000 square feet. The building would be set back 552.5 feet from White Lake Road, so quite a distance from the street. The maximum building height in the light manufacturing zoning district is 40 feet. And this proposed building has an average height of 43 feet, 3 inches. So the applicant is seeking a 3.25 foot variance to construct the building. This project did go through, or is in the process of going through, administrative site plan review at the planning department. All reviewing parties did recommend approval of the site plan, and those comments are included in your packet for review. The planning department did recommend approval of the site plan conditioned on the applicant receiving a variance for the height of the building from the Zoning Board of Appeals. The zoning ordinance in Article 7, Section 37 provides a list of standards that the board needs to consider when reviewing a variance request. All of the criteria need to be met in order to grant a variance. With that, the applicant is present tonight, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions of staff? Nick?
I do.
Go ahead.
Just to get a little bit more insight into this, what is the rationale behind a 40-foot height limit in light manufacturing?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the idea is that, there wouldn't be, and you don't see this anymore in really in today's manufacturing world, but multi-story operations. So if there's an adjacent residential zoned area, you wouldn't see from your subdivision a 4-story, manufacturing complex. Like I said, that kind of went by the wayside, years ago, but I think that's where the height standard comes from.
I can address that as well, because I've dealt with this, and we're going to be dealing with this with the new downtown area. One of the biggest issues is we do not own a ladder truck. Fire department doesn't own a ladder truck. And so 30 feet is about the maximum, 35 feet is the maximum that we typically allow so the fire department can access it. So I'll be asking the applicant some direct questions regarding that.
Any other comments or questions for staff? With that then, if Mr. Mack would like to describe to us what he's requesting and why, we would appreciate it, sir.
I will step in for that. I'm Jim Butler. I'm with PEA Group,
Thank you, sir.
engineers for the project. Howard Mack is obviously here with us this evening. He is the owner of the property. And Scott Salzider with Salzider Incorporated is the general contractor for the project. As Justin had pointed out, we are asking for a variance of 3 feet, 3 inches, where 40 feet is allowed. The building is set back a significant distance from White Lake Road, some 552 feet, and another 560 feet to the south. There is extensive landscaping currently that exists along White Lake Road. This parcel is probably one of the biggest light manufacturing pieces within the township. We have placed this building in a location that will not be seen by the public. This parcel also is adjacent to the Pontiac Lake recreation area. So it kind of is a unique parcel in that regard. Mr. Mack can address this, but the reason for making the height request is he is trying to get into another line of product and product manufacturing. And this building, he will need an additional height because it is going to be a craned type building. So that is why the request for the height variance. Mr. Mack can certainly explain the operation if that is important.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions of the proponents?
I just have one question. Will this be a 1-story, 43 feet?
Yes, it is a one-story building.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mike?
Yes, thank you. I am familiar with Mac Industries. They make some number of the products that my industry uses, and so they're very well known around in the industry. I have a question regarding, it appears as though you're trying to have as close to a clear span building as possible. Are you really spanning 60-foot clear between your beams and your column line?
Scott, you want to address that?
Yes, it's a 60-foot crane bay, yes.
All right, so you're going to have a wheeled crane moving up and down through this building?
Yes, two 30-ton cranes.
Wow. Okay. The reason I was asking that is because I noticed there's a shed type roof all falling to one side, and you could lower the roof line down a little bit if there was a center ridge beam or ridge line. And so you've answered my question as to why you can't have a center ridge line there. It would destroy your manufacturing ability for the product you want. Is this building fire suppressed?
No, it qualifies as fire suppression not required. The fire prevention is fire extinguishers. That's the building classification. So
All right.
no fire alarm or fire suppression. It'd be fire extinguishers.
All right. Madam Chairman, I think I've had my questions answered. I would point out that Mac Industries is a very unique manufacturer in that the products that they typically make are very large concrete vaults, round and square, different rectangular, and the manufacturing of that needs a great deal of room and a lot of clear span area and width area. And so this is a very, very unique situation, and White Lake is very pleased to have Mac Industries here.
Thank you, Mike. Does anybody else from the board wish to have any comments? If not, then Brian, I'm going to open up the meeting. Do we have anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this?
We have one caller on the line. Last four numbers are 3458. They do not have their hand raised at the moment.
Would you please explain to them how to do that, Brian?
Yes, caller, if you would like to make a comment, just press *9, and that will raise your hand, and then we will call on you. Otherwise, there's still no other callers.
Thank you. And let me know, Brian, if they do indicate that they want to speak. In the meantime, 16 owners within 300 feet were notified of this request. No letters received in favor, no letters received in opposition, and no letters returned by United States mail. Has the person indicated yet, Brian, whether they wish to join us?
There is no indication. There is no hand raised.
Thank you. Then with that, I'm closing the public hearing and bringing it back to the board for a discussion or a motion.
If we're ready, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead. David's ready to make a motion.
Dave needs to unmute himself.
Oh, Dave, you got to wait. Let me.
Oh, can you hear me okay through, right? Can everyone hear me okay?
I think you need to unmute yourself.
Okay. Let me dial down first. Go ahead, Dave.
Can everyone hear me okay now?
Yes.
Nick's saying yes.
Anna, can you hear me okay?
Yes, she can.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I move to approve I'm sorry, one second. Let me make adjustment here. I move to approve the variance requested by Mac Industries as follows. Variance number 1, Ordinance section Article 3.1.20.e. Subject, building height, standard, 40 feet. Requested variance, 3.25 feet. Result, 43.25 feet. Additionally, the approval will have the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the White Lake Township Building Department. 2, approval of this variance is in accordance with administrative site plan review approval by the planning department.
Okay, mute yourself, Dave. We have a motion. Do we have a support?
Support.
Thank you, Nick. Hannah, may we have a roll call, please?
Walls,
Dave's calling you.
Yes, I vote yes. I see practical difficulty based upon the nature of the business and the constraints of the building. So I support this.
shellac,
I vote yes. I see a practical difficulty. It appears that much has been done to place it also in a location that it's not going to diminish the beauty of the area. And on top of that, I believe it's going to open up more possibilities for our community as a whole.
Spencer,
Yes, I see a practical difficulty. I believe this is a unique situation. It is not self-created. It allows, the variance allows to provide substantial justice by granting the property rights to the owner. Minimum variance is necessary, and it's in compliance with the other laws, both federal and state.
Powell,
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
DeHart,
I vote yes for the reasons stated.
Gentlemen, you have your variance. You have 6 months in which to pull the permit. Please give staff till Monday or Tuesday you'll need to get a copy, a rough draft copy. Wow, that was tough to say. Rough draft copy of the minutes, and you'll need to take them to the building department. But you do have your variance.
Madam Chairman and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, thank you for your time and your consideration. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Mike, good seeing you
Thank
again.
you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Calling in the next case, Brent Petrus, 4259 Oak Guard Court, also identified as 1207-176-016. The request is, the applicant is requesting to add a covered front porch to a single-family home, requiring a variance from Article 3.1.6.e R1D, single-family residential, front yard setback due to the proposed front yard setback. Variances from Article 3.1.6.e R1D, single-family residential, minimum lot area and minimum lot width are also required. And for the record, 24 owners within 300 feet were notified. No letters received in favor, no letters received in opposition, no letters received by United States Mail. And with that, may we have staff report, please?
This property, as the Madam Chair said, is located at 4259 Oak Guard. The applicant, on behalf of the property owner, is proposing to construct a covered porch on the front of the house. This property is just over 1/10 of an acre in size and is zoned R1D, which is a single-family zoning district. On the screen in front of you is a mortgage survey provided by the applicant. The existing house is non-conforming to setbacks. The structure is located 2.1 feet from the south side property line, 7 feet from the north side property line, and 28 feet from the front property line. In the R1D zoning district, a minimum 10-foot side yard setback is required and 30-foot front yard setback. The parcel itself is also non-conforming. In R1D, the minimum lot size is 12,000 square feet, and this parcel is 5,880 square feet in size. And then the minimum lot width requirement in R1D is 80 feet. And this parcel is 40.64 feet in width of the street line. So the screen is now showing the covered porch. And just so I think the board does know, a covered or enclosed porch is considered part of the principal structure and therefore subject to the same setbacks as the house. This covered porch would be 8 feet by 12.5 feet in size. That's 100 square feet. It would be added on to the front of the house. The porch would be located 21 feet from the front property line. So a variance of 9 feet is being requested. And then just to cover our bases on the lot size and lot width, a 6,119.4 square foot variance is requested for the lot area, and a 39.36 foot variance is requested for the lot width. Article 7, Section 37 of the zoning ordinance provides the standards the Zoning Board of Appeals needs to review when considering a variance request. All the criteria need to be met in order to grant a variance. With that, the applicant is present tonight, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does staff have any questions of our planner? If we have no questions, then the proponent, Brent, speak. Let us know what it is you're asking for, please.
Yeah, we're looking to build a timber frame front porch with like a metal roof on it, and it's a unique little cul-de-sac here that we're on. I'm actually his neighbor. I don't be doing the job, but it's just going to give the house a little bit better look, curb appeal, and give him a front porch that he's never really had. So the house is a unique spot where it's kind of pushed into one end of the yard, so he has no real big front area there.
Okay,
I have a question.
I was just going to say, do any members? Okay, and let me reduce my volume, Dave. Okay, you're good, Dave.
Yes, I have a question of the applicant. Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there any other reasons that you have besides listing in the application, please, kind of, I'm paraphrasing here, other than homeowner would like to have a front porch on his home. The porch will make curbside view more pleasing to the eye. You had mentioned, if I understood you correctly, a statement relative to curb appeal. Is there anything else along those lines other than that? And I'm sorry, you were kind of, I didn't hear you correctly. The other statement that you made?
Yes, it's that along the line of that, and he doesn't have an access.
He's muted. Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't hear you.
Am I muted?
No, I can hear him.
I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead, Dave. Could you repeat yourself, please, sir?
Yes, it's not just that. He doesn't have a garage or any access to even like a sheds in his backyard. So this would give him kind of like a loading zone for his car and so forth, because when rains or snows, I mean, it's not just a curb appeal mostly. It's mostly for usage.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yes. If what was your name, sir? That you're talking?
Brett.
Brett. Thank you, Brett. Could you please tell me if you're going to have a foundation under this structure?
There's going to be just 2 sonic tubes put in.
All right, and then you'll support up that with a 4x4 or 6x6 to the flooring.
Correct.
Is it going to be insulated at all?
Nope. No insulation. Just
Any heat? Any heat brought to it?
Nope.
All right. I did notice, obviously, that the finished floor of the home is substantially, I'm gonna say 3-4 feet above grade, how will you enter this new enclosed porch?
So we really were just putting the roof on at this point in time, and I don't know what we were gonna do with the flooring of it itself was just gonna be nothing for the time being.
So there
So-
would be no porch at that point.
Well,
If it's a roof projecting off the front of the house with nothing below it, then it's not a porch at that point. I guess what's the plan for the porch? I mean, if this wasn't going to be covered, then there would be no variance needed. So that's another something to take into
yeah,
consideration.
well, it could be brick pavers or probably brick pavers.
But what Mr. Powell was getting at is, how are you going to get up from the ground up to the front door with the change? You know, it's several feet. So you're not going to jump from
there.
a flat, brick pavers up to the front door.
Yeah, we'd install a landing. We would have to install a landing.
So this porch area, and I just want to picture it the best I can here, because the plans aren't really clear. So there's an existing porch there now, and there's steps that come up to that front porch in front of the home.
So his home doesn't have a step. It's right there. It's really not even needed. I don't believe it needs a landing. So his front door to the ground right there is almost the same height, or not more than one step.
Okay, I apologize then. I took pictures and it shows 4 steps going up to the current elevation of the front door. So I must have taken pictures of the wrong home. I'm sorry then. So you're just going to have a roof over top of brick pavers that are at grade. And you're just going to have the 4x4 or 6x6s going up to support the roof itself. And it's a projection without any walls anywhere around it and no additional door in front of it.
Correct.
So it's kind of an area to protect somebody coming into the house and opening the door from the inclement weather instead of standing out in the rain while you're trying to open the door.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a little different impression than I had coming into this meeting. So, all right, Justin, you'll have to help us and decide whether or not this variance is actually really needed or not.
It would. So a covered porch, whether it's just got a roof over it or has walls and it is enclosed, needs a variance because down the road, it could be enclosed and become part of the house if that was done without a building permit, without our knowledge. It could become living space. So the variance would still be needed, even if it's just a roofed structure with a open patio below it.
Okay, that wouldn't be considered just an architectural feature then.
No. So if there's like a portico, that would be a little bit different. That would be open, and that the ordinance does allow something like that to project into a setback. But something like this with the roof coming out, 8 feet away from the house, the idea is that, well, that isn't really a portico, and maybe 20 years from now, this Mr. Savitsky won't own it, and someone say, well, hey, I'll put some walls up and I'll have an enclosed front porch for more protection. And if they did that without a permit, then it's, a room within the setback.
So let me ask a little more probing here in that certainly no work should be done on a structure without pulling a building permit. Let's just assume that everything's going to be done now and in the future per the ordinances.
Sure.
If this is granted tonight, certainly they'd be allowed to put the roof on, like they're proposing, a gabled roof coming off to protect the landing area. Would they need to come back to the ZBA if they wanted to formally enclose that room Because we in theory may, if we approve the variance, as long as they don't go outside of that variance, it could be enclosed sometime in the future without a new variance.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Good question, Mike. I was going to say that question.
Yeah, I'm sorry I took your thunder away.
You did, and I never get to have any time for thunder either. Does anybody else from the board have any questions of the proponent? If not, Brian, I'd like to open the public hearing up. Is there anyone from the public that's waiting to hear on this case? Do you know?
No, there are no callers.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for whatever action they desire to take. Is there any questions before someone makes a motion? If not, make a motion, please.
I'll go
Anybody?
ahead and make the motion.
Thank you, Nick.
Pulling up my wording here. And I sped right by it. There we go. I move to approve the variance requested by Brett. I want to pronounce this correctly. Is it Patrice?
Correct.
Okay. I move to approve the variance requested by Brett Patrice from Article 3.1.6.e of the zoning ordinance for parcel number 12-07-176-016, identified as 4259 Oak Guard Court, in order to construct a covered porch that would encroach 9 feet into the required front yard setback, a 39.36 foot variance from the required lot width, and 6,119.4 square foot variance from the required lot size are also granted from Article 3.1.6.e. This approval will have the following condition: the applicant shall obtain all necessary permits from the White Lake Township Building Department.
And do we have a support on that, please?
I'll support.
Thank you. Hannah, may we have a roll call?
Yes. Shellac,
Yes, I see the practical difficulty, especially the fact that so much of this variance request is about the home that's already there. I mean, we're talking about putting on a porch and yeah, so much of this is about the structure that's already in place. So I do see the practical difficulty.
DeHart,
Yes, I think there is a hardship with the lot, and that the porch would enhance the structure and help the owner with weather and getting in and out of the house.
Walls,
So no, I do not see a practical difficulty in this particular case. The applicant was fully aware of the home when it was purchased, and this is not a unique situation. I don't know.
Powell,
I'm going to vote yes. I believe that the only way to provide for the protection of the owner and occupant in entering this structure is by moving the entire building back in order to build a cover over top of the front door of this building. The applicant did not build the home, and therefore it's not a self-created hardship. I think it's a very unique situation. We live in Michigan, and our weather is very unpredictable, and I would certainly like to protect the homeowner from the inclement weather. I believe it'll enhance, quite frankly, the market value of this structure. I believe it's the minimum variance requested, and it would be it would not be of substantial justice if, in fact, we didn't grant this.
Spencer,
I'm going to vote yes. This is a non-conforming lot. I do believe a practical difficulty exists. I do believe this is a unique situation. It is not self-created. Substantial justice is being granted to the property rights similar to those enjoyed in the area. Is the minimum variance necessary, and it's in compliance with all the federal and state laws. With that, sir, you have your variance, as I stated at the very beginning of the meeting, you have 6 months in which to pull the permit or you must return to this board. So give staff a few days, first part of next week. You need a rough draft copy of the minutes before taking it to the building department. But you're good to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
As well.
You too.
Yeah.
And with that, our next case, the applicant is MJ Whalen Construction. The location is 10199 Lakeside Drive, also identified as 1222-477-011. The applicant requests to construct a second-story addition to a single-family house, requiring variances from Article 3.1.6.e, R1D, single-family residential, front yard setback and side yard setback due to the proposed building setbacks. Variances from Article 3.1.6.e, R1D, single-family residential, minimum lot area and minimum lot width are also required. And with that, may we have, oh, no, wait. 30 owner occupants within 300 feet were notified. No letters received in favor, none received in opposition, none received by United States Mail. And with that, may we have staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned, this property is located at 10199 Lakeside Drive and is located on Oxbow Lake. This property is also zoned R1D, single family residential. On the monitor or the screen is a lot survey provided by the applicant. This parcel is just under 1/4 acre in size, and the existing house on the property, you can see towards the north portion of the site, is approximately 1,830 square feet in size. The applicant, as the chair mentioned, MJ Whalen Construction, on behalf of the property owner, is proposing to construct a first and second floor addition on this house. The current house is non-conforming to setbacks. The structure is located 4.1 feet from the east side property line, 4.2 feet from the west side property line, and 6.7 feet from the front property line. Again, in R1D, the minimum side yard setback is 10 feet and minimum front yard setback is 30 feet. This parcel is also non-conforming with 12,000 square feet in lot area required in R1D. This parcel is 2,286.12 square feet deficient in lot area. And then with an 80-foot lot width requirement, this parcel is deficient by 21.93 feet in width at the street line. I'm going to change the screen here and let me try to zoom to what I want to get to. So, as I mentioned, there's a first and second floor addition proposed. The first floor addition is located 9.5 feet from the east side lot line. That's, I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen. It's this area here off behind the garage to the south of the garage. It says, I believe, new storage. So that's 1/2 foot encroaching into the side yard setback, and that room is approximately 48 square feet in size. There's a second floor addition also proposed, and the second story is currently 705 square feet in size. The proposed addition on that level is 805 square feet in size. The second story addition at the front of the house would be located 5 feet from the east side property line and 6.7 feet from the front property line. At the rear of the house, which is, sorry, we're back over here now. So the first portion that I mentioned was over here on the right at the north, and then over here at the southwest portion of the house. That part of the addition is the wall of the structure is 5 feet from the side lot line. However, the wall of, or I'm sorry, excuse me, the roof overhang of that portion of the addition is encroaching into the, within 5 feet of the side lot line. Article 5, Section 3 of the zoning ordinance prohibits roofs, gutters, windows, and open balconies from projecting closer than 5 feet to a side lot line. And again, Article 7, Section 27, subsection 7 of the ordinance prohibits the zoning board of appeals from granting a variance of less than 5 feet on the side for safety reasons. Something that came up that didn't make it into your staff report. The applicant did not provide the value of improvements on the building permit application. This is a non-conforming structure, and we look at the value, and the ordinance limits improvements during 12 consecutive months to 50% of the state equalized value of the building. This addition, or excuse me, yeah, the addition is valued at $90,000, and with an SEV in 2020 for the building at $105,000, they are exceeding the allowed value of improvements. That variance was not requested or published. So what was advertised tonight was the front yard setback variance. They were requesting 23.3 feet to be located 6.7 feet from the front lot line. The side yard setback 5 feet on the east and west for the second floor. Just to cover our bases with the parcel, a 2,286.12 square foot variance was requested for lot size, and a 21.93 foot variance was requested for lot width. Again, Article 7, Section 37 of the zoning ordinance provides the standards the zoning board of appeals needs to consider when reviewing a variance request, and all the criteria need to be met in order to grant a variance. With that, the applicant is present, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of staff? Go ahead, Nick.
Just a clarifying one, right on the image that you had up on the screen, it
me go
is
back.
hanging. Yeah, just briefly. I mean, I can pull it up on mine.
I got it.
Yeah. So it is 4.5 feet then from the edge. Is that correct?
Yeah,
It's
the
not
roof overhang is into the setback, or
Okay.
within 5 feet of the side lot line, right here.
Okay. So kind of like what we dealt with a couple times last meeting. We're not even legally allowed to approve that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Mike, did you have a question?
I did, and maybe Justin can help me. And the plans, for some reason, I'm not super clear on. How far over the existing garage is the applicant proposing to build road towards the road? We have the garage there, and the home that sets back from the garage.
Sure.
And for some reason, if you could put maybe the building elevation back up and show me what the view is from the side and where the existing garage is.
Sure. So the addition would go over the entire garage. So it would be 6.7 feet from the front lot line. And if I go back, this wall here with the roof overhang would be 6.7 feet. So, but we don't have that same issue that we do on the sides with encroachment with the roof overhang. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does, except help me understand the ordinance just a little bit. If they were to have a wall go straight up from the garage door, right,
Sure.
straight up, and have a vertical wall there,
Yes.
that is the 6 foot setback requirement from the garage door, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so because that's a sloped roof, if they have an interior knee wall back in above the garage ceiling, and they have the dormer that appears to be a dormer out the front of the garage there, does it matter where the roof starts if the floor inside that room were to be pulled back to where that dormer is?
Does it matter where the floor starts? Was that the question?
So if the floor starts back where the dormer is,
Right.
It's more than 6 feet from the front yard setback because it's set back 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet from the face of the garage itself.
Right.
So the actual addition where that dormer starts would be more than the 6 feet. Just because you have a sloped roof coming out to where the existing sloped roof is for the garage, are we interpreting the ordinance correctly? Assuming now we have an overhang, the front door, that's a whole other issue. We have that projection over the front door that's going to match the garage door front. I'm just wondering, trying to get in my own mind where the setback is for the addition over top of the garage.
Sure. So
It steps back 3'8", Mike, from the 6 foot side.
all right. So the applicant's got to be addressed by the board.
Yeah, just a minute, Matt. Let's let Justin talk. And
Yeah.
so you're right.
Yeah, that very well may be the case, Mr. Powell. The way that I understood it from the building official, and he's not on tonight, that we wrote this up at 6.7 feet. So maybe that was an error. I did get that from the building department denial of the request.
So the reason why I asked this, and we'll ask the applicant as well. I personally believe that there's an enhancement by having a dormer like that on the front of a house, which is different than with the issue of a garage with a dormer, which has a whole different issue. So just having a sloped roof all the way back, kind of like the garage does now, is not in keeping with the upgrades that the surrounding homes have. So it may be in our further discussion, they may be requesting a variance less than what is proposed, or less than what is shown on your report. But we do have the projection over top of the front door that, quite frankly, is in fact only 6 feet because it looks like it matches the front door, the garage door there a little bit.
Yeah, and I apologize, Mr. Powell, for not having that straight in the staff report.
Oh, don't worry.
So, but you're right. The covered front porch would trigger the same need for that variance. But I apologize for not communicating that clearly.
No, that's fine, and I'm good with the presentation, and it'll be interesting to hear the owner's presentation.
I have a question, Justin. So if they need to ask for a variance for the cost of the addition being more than 50% of the SCV, and we know that we cannot grant the 5 feet on the side because it's over into the 5 foot side yard setback, is this something that, can we even make a decision with the SEV issue?
Yeah, so the two options would be either tabling the request or denying it, and they can come back. Either way, we're going to have to renotice the case, which is going to involve an application fee.
As a point of order, if we deny, they can't bring the same request back before us. So
It would be a different request because the west side wall would be, the roof overhanging wall would be readjusted.
So that's enough to reappeal everything, or just deny that one item?
That would be enough to reappeal everything.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's up to you. I think the ordinance has language that says proof of changed circumstances or evidence sufficient to justify reconsideration. So it gives the board some leeway in determining if there was enough of a change to rehear the case. And I would say that would be.
obviously it's my recommendation that we let the owner discuss it and then allow him to make the decision, right?
Yeah, we did advertise a public hearing, so I don't think we have anyone in the wings, but we should still open it and proceed that way. Yes, sir.
I have one more quick question, Justin. Since this has happened before, is this something that the building department lets applicants know that they do need to ask for a variance for the SEV?
Yeah, so that what we're doing to remedy the situation is modifying our variance application so the applicant has to provide the value of improvement on the variance application and provide the SEV of the building. And if that's not filled out on the application, then it won't be accepted. As of now, they're supposed to provide it on the building permit, which then the building department should review. This spot was left blank on the building permit application. So, and no one, it wasn't provided with the building permit. So
As a point of interest, Justin, if you weren't on the township board meeting on Tuesday, I requested that the planning department take a look at this and ask the planning commission to revisit this item, because with today's market value, and we're trying to get the property owners to improve property, to require that to be a variance and have that variance be so low, I think it deserves the planning commission to look at it and see if they might want to recommend a change to the zoning ordinance.
I have brought it up and will do so again.
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody else have questions of staff? If not, Matt, you're on. What can you tell us about this case?
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and Madam Chairman, for the opportunity. I'm sorry to dive in on the 3.8 inches, but we did on a couple of the notes here. I mean, we actually, if you look at that drawing, we did pull in the two side walls 9 inches to take care of that 5-foot setback. The overhang that's on it now is on it now. It's drawn in there, but that's an existing overhang that we wouldn't be ripping off. So we just took our addition and slid it in 9 inches. The homeowner's not very happy about it, but it's difficult. It's the whole building is somewhat difficult, and that's the same with the front porch. There's a covered front porch now with an overhang on it now, and we tried not to make that any worse than it is now, in this design. So we probably should have a drawing of what is. And maybe that doesn't matter for the board. I'm not 100% certain if what is matters. But it was a struggle just to try to get some sort of configuration, above all the existing footprint of the house. We didn't want to enlarge the footprint at all. And because of a structural issue, I believe that's the east side. It looks like we missed that by 6 inches, but I think that can be modified. We would, I think, based on Justin realizing that we hadn't applied for a variance for the cost aspect of this compared to the SEV. I think we'd like to table it, but at the same time, it's been very difficult, I think, with trying to, get into the township and actually just get in front of somebody and figure out if something like this is even approvable ever. You know what I mean? If we're just trying to take care of a homeowner. So I guess it would be nice to at least have a discussion about it, seeing how we have the board in front of us, and see if we're just completely, what can we do to get them something, knowing that we have to come back anyway for a variance on the SEV.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Matt? Go ahead, Mike.
Yes. Good evening, by the way, Matt.
How you doing, Mike?
Doing well. I have, it appears that the room over top of the garage is a storage and not really a living space. At least that's the way it's presented on the drawings. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be finished area. It would be heated finished area.
Okay, so they'd be looking to, it would be a habitable space then?
Yes.
Okay. This is just remember, I'm only one vote on this, so I'm kind of in favor of allowing a dormer on that garage. I think it really adds to the aesthetics of the house. And certainly it's pulled back from the existing garage face. I certainly have a little bit of a problem with the amount of improvements over top of that front porch. It's kind of like in your face, boom, way out at the road there.
Yeah.
And so that needs to be discussed maybe a little bit more. I think you've addressed the 5-foot issue. And Justin, if you could help us with the existing overhang, I think you're just concerned about anything proposed new, correct?
Yes, sir. And from, our review of the plans, they're carrying that, straight up. So it's still going to be 7 inches, from where it shouldn't be as drawn.
Yeah. So I think Mr. Whalen is correct. It'd be nice to get some feedback. So if there's something that needs to be changed on the drawing from what we see, we ought to at least give him the courtesy to be able to do that before he comes back.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I just want to say that I think it would definitely be an improvement, and it is a very difficult situation, and I appreciate the fact that there were stakes out showing where the property was. This is well and septic, correct?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
This is well and septic,
Yes.
and there isn't any sewer in the road there.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. I guess I'm still a little confused as to the existing overhang is in the 5-foot setback. The new overhang, I thought I understood Matt saying that it was going to be in from the 5-foot setback, but Justin, are you saying that it's following the existing overhang, so it's going to be still over?
Yeah, that's how it's drawn on the plans.
If you look at the north and west elevations, you'll see that what we did is we pulled those gables. What wasn't, if it's a new gable, it was pulled in 9 inches.
I see that.
Okay, so there's no other reason to pull that in at all. What is below it is already there. It's existing. See how it says existing gable rafter?
But this is new right here where my cursor is.
Yeah, but if you'll see, that's actually pulled in so that you don't. We pulled it in off the structure. The structure below. See the 9 inches?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
I could be 100% wrong, but the purpose of that 9 inches, there's only one purpose, is we pulled it into the structure so that my overhang of the new structure is not hanging into your 5-foot setback. If we've miscalculated, then it is an error, but that's not the purpose of the 9 inches is not aesthetics by any stretch of the imagination, and actually not even wanted by our homeowners. But we didn't want to paint ourselves in the corner of giving you something we can't do.
Sure,
The overhang below that is into the setback today is already there.
So
yeah, I guess I would just need clarification from our building official, because he was the one that reviewed these plans, and we actually both did, and that was what was
Okay,
interpreted from this. So if we need clarification, we would need it from the building official.
no problem. And we might be interpreting it wrong too. I'm just saying that from what we thought we needed to do, we're sitting there with a pencil and pen and trying to get what we think you want.
Yeah.
And having not really been in front of this board much, I don't know what you've allowed or not allowed. So, you know, we're just kind of vacant of is you know, what we're asking for just, you know, too much. Of course, we're asking a homeowner, homeowners, has a many more demands of what we want to do than what you're going to let us and what we can design. They want it to look good. They want it to be cost effective, and also we're trying to hit the criteria of this board, obviously. So any direction on that would be helpful. I do get that the two ends, we just cannot be in the 5-foot setback. If the existing one's in the 5-foot setback, I don't know if I can leave those or have to rip those off too. I don't know what to do with that.
Any other questions of the proponent? If not, Brian, can we open the public hearing up? Is there anybody in the audience waiting on this case?
No callers at the moment.
Thank you, sir. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back for additional discussion or a motion. Matt, can I ask you a question? Were you leaning towards having this table to get the 50% information? Or did you want us to proceed with knowing that if we vote on this tonight, you're still going to have to come back one more time. Still going to have to pay either way, but
I think we're leaning towards just tabling it and trying to get some sort of feedback from the board on what they didn't like of it. And, knowing that we didn't apply for the variance for the SUV, but also trying to get back from the board anything else that they said that, I don't think I would have ever approved this or this looks good to us. I don't know.
thank you. Back then, board members?
I guess I still have a question, Justin. Since the addition is not in the 5-foot setback with the overhang, but the existing structure is, it is a non-conforming structure, so can we approve it with that already non-conforming in there?
Yeah, the ordinance would allow the existing nonconformity to remain unless the board
Okay.
decided differently.
Thank you.
Because we're not expanding the nonconformity, right?
Well, the nonconformity is being expanded by cubic content if you grant the variance for the second story addition. So, I mean, yes, the nonconformity is being expanded.
I mean,
Right.
the going into the 5-foot setback part, correct?
Right, if that's indeed the case with the roof overhang, yeah.
Yeah, because again, when I look at that, it's that 4.5, and then it seems the 9 inches might be on top of that, but the 4.5 still goes to the overhang, not to the edge of the wall, at least
Right.
based on the drawing that I'm seeing.
That's what we inferred, and if there's something different, then the building official and I will take a second look at it. But that's what we inferred on our review of the plans.
So I maybe I'm missing it on here, but the overhang from the first story, that's very clearly going into the 5 feet. Then, do we
Yes,
have
sir.
a measurement? Do we have a measurement on that? Did I just overlook that? That how far that's going encroaching?
I don't think that's shown on there.
Looks like the setback of the building is at 4.2 feet, and if it's an 8-inch overhang, it'd be 8 inches more than that.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not shown on the plans, but Mr. Powell's correct. Usually the overhang's anywhere from 6 inches to, 1 foot 4 inch. So 8 inches probably pretty accurate, Mr. Powell.
So, I mean, in terms of the aspect of providing any kind of feedback, I mean, if it's 4.5 with a second story overhang, again, it's just not even something we can act upon.
Correct.
Yeah. So, I understand there'd be the annoyance of losing another 6 inches because it starts to squeeze it in a little bit, but
Yeah, but
if that's what's yeah.
That's the purpose. We thought we were bringing it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposed to talk, right?
Yeah. And keep in mind that this house with the addition is going to be over 3,000 square feet in size. So it's not like this is a small house and every 6 inches counts. I mean, yes, it does, I know, but we're not talking about what we have in other cases with second floors, like last week on Joanna K. Every inch on that house for the second floor really mattered when it was only 645 square feet to start with.
Right.
I mean, every case is independent, but that's just for reference.
Right. Yeah.
Once we have clarification, we can draw it the way we need to. I think we felt like I think we might have misunderstood what we have there or something, but we can bring it in a foot. It doesn't really matter. We were trying to bring it within compliance, knowing that the existing isn't, and we didn't rip. When you see that it's not in compliance, but it's already there and it's labeled existing. So I think that's where the confusion lies. But once we have clarification, I can draw it and make sure that you have the right information. So the front porch, I'm gonna, maybe relook at the front porch, but we thought we stayed completely in with what was already there. It's already got a covered front porch now. So we didn't want to exasperate that non-compliance either. And we want it to look good. I mean, everybody wants it to look good, I think. So.
Any other comments, board members?
I'd be curious to know what my colleagues feel regarding, because the two other areas that he might need some guidance on is that new overhang. It's almost a double overhang over the front porch. If that were slid back, you could slide it all the way back and have it just a faux architectural feature on the face of the proposed second story, and that would push it all the way back to the vertical face. I personally like architectural projection, but he's taking that all the way out to the face of the garage, which is right. It certainly needs that. It would require a much bigger variance. He could move it all the way back to the face of where that dormer is on the garage, but I'd like my colleagues on the board to discuss maybe whether that dormer should be pushed back away from the road more, or because it looks as though instead of only 6 point some feet setback from the front property line, it's going to be more like a 9 or 10 foot setback, because it is offset from the face of the garage by 3-4 feet. And I don't know if you guys like that or not.
And just a small comment, it is over the existing covered porch. That's the only reason for it. It's within the same, or we believe it's within the same envelope of what it exists today. It's just now higher. That's all. I'm curious if that's allowable too. I'm not on your board. I just don't know.
Just for some feedback, I feel that it is a non-conforming lot, as the majority of these lakefront lots are, and they're very difficult to allow people to grow into the homes. They were built as cottages years ago, and I think that we work very hard to work with applicants to get things to fit. So,
I agree, Debbie.
And I'm agreeing with that as well.
Well, I'm gonna redouble our efforts on when I sit in front of you again. To just make sure that, one, it's probably helpful for you to have a better drawing of what is. Because I think it helps you to find whether I'm exasperating the issue or not, or if that issue's already sitting the way it is, or if I can improve the situation and then make sure I'm pulling this in so that it does the best it can. Yeah. So, and still gives me something that the homeowner thinks and the community at large thinks looks nice and adds value to, the community.
Is there any, to the rest of our board here, is there any guidance we could give in terms of the thing that's not on the table yet, but will be in regard to the SEV and the value increase?
Well, my personal opinion, and I've shared this at each meeting, that I believe that is that's almost forcing people to do a substandard addition anymore, and so that is not an issue to me personally.
no, or me either.
And I'm sure Debbie's going to make sure that the planning commission reviews this, because this happens almost every meeting, and it's extremely frustrating.
Yes.
Not just to the proponents, but as board members, we too struggle with the fact that the cost of construction just keeps going up. Materials cost way more than they used to, and yet you've got such a small dollar amount to work with. It's why even bother?
Yeah, I think you'll almost beat it just by re-roofing, re-siding, re-windowing the entire place, adding a couple front porch, and I think I'd have to come to you for a variance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Madam Chair, if I may, we've had talks, and the idea is that this isn't meant to discourage people from putting addition on their house, and it's actually an important policy tool so we can look at nonconformities. We've talked about maybe increasing it to 75% of the SEV instead of 50%. And obviously that's something, if this does go before the Planning Commission and Township Board as an ordinance amendment, obviously, they would give their input. We don't want to totally disregard this section of the ordinance.
No.
Just like we do with minimum lot area and lot width. Yeah, it's a hassle, and we add it on if it's an issue when a case comes before the board. And this is what we're going to do with these going forward as well. It's just another thing that we need to look at.
When a structure needs to come down and rebuilt to current standards, you could almost have it 100%, because a current structure that is dilapidated and really should not be saved would be $3,000 or $6,000, as we had one a couple weeks ago, and you really can't do any addition at all for $6,000. And so that's where we're looking to do. We're looking to have the dilapidated structures removed and rebuilt. Something like this, the existing home appears to be very well maintained and certainly is of value to keep.
Right, and that's why this sounds like a variance that would be granted. It's just, again, like a check on nonconformities.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but I agree. Maybe
I think they spent double on that than that SEV.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, the SEV isn't the true value.
No, but that's the idea. It's not based on the true cash value. It's based on the building assessment. So we don't factor in land value or anything like that. And, we don't, when someone comes, before the township to do work on a non-conforming building and they don't need any variances, but the only issue is the value, we don't send that to the Zoning Board of Appeals just like if someone comes in to do a build, for a project and they meet all the standards, but the lot's too narrow, we don't just send that to the zoning board of appeals. So yes, you'll probably see more of these in the future, because we're going to treat it just like we do lot area and lot width. And it's just something that we have to deal with. And as Mr. Powell said, it's a check on the more dilapidated, dangerous buildings in the township, but it just gives us an idea of, okay, well, this is a non-conforming structure. We're going to let them do this value and we're going to perpetuate the non-conformity, which is fine because we have 21 lakes in the township and all the parcels are non-conforming. So like I said, we can maybe modify it, that 50% number, but it's definitely not meant to discourage someone from doing an addition. And maybe, and I try to communicate that with applicants when they come in that, your value is not an issue. It's just something that the board, just like lot area, lot width, is going to make a note of. And if you don't have a dilapidated structure and you're living in it and you're making an improvement and meeting all the other criteria for a variance, then we're going to grant it. I don't know if I answered your question or spoke out.
So
of
it's
turn,
important.
so.
Yeah, there are two other items that I just want to quickly bring up. First of all, Matt, we're kind of a stickler on air conditioning units not being placed adjacent to structures that are placed only 5 feet off a property line, just happens to be right underneath the window of the neighbor's bedroom. So we're going to be a stickler on that. And then just a point of interest for everyone, you're adding bedrooms and square footage. The Oakland County Health Department's going to have a major issue regarding the existing septic field being adequate to serve this. And if we grant a variance, the owner, you might want to touch base with the health department because the owner may be surprised at what the health department might do for you to get a permit to be able to build this.
Sure. And we're not adding bedrooms, but I get it.
Yeah.
And Madam Chair, if I may, it may be helpful for the applicant to get feedback on the first floor addition being 6 inches away from conformance on the east side.
Right. Okay, any additional discussion? If not, does somebody want to entertain a motion?
Well, I'll do it.
Thank you, Debbie.
I would like to make a motion to table the variances requested of MJ Whalen Construction for parcel number 12-22-477-011, identified as 10199 Lakeside Drive, to consider comments stated during this public hearing.
And do we have a support?
Support.
And may we have a roll call, Hannah?
DeHart,
Yes, I think we have given the applicant some guidance and we do need to have another variance brought in there for the SED.
Shellac,
Yes, well, this conversation in no way guarantees or promises how we'll decide on anything coming up in the future. I believe it gives a better understanding of our thought processes when we make those decisions.
Powell,
Yes, for the reasons stated.
Walls,
For the reasons stated.
Spencer,
Yes, for the reasons stated. Matt, you're being tabled. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I really appreciate the board's input on helping us spread it.
Right. Well, you understand where we're coming from now, and by working with Justin, hopefully you'll make our next meeting, which will be December 10th.
Yep.
And by then, I think we made it very clear, especially with the it has to be 5 feet on the new addition.
Sure, absolutely.
Other than no overhangs going in or anything.
Got
And other
it.
than that, you'd have to come before us anyways for the SEV. So.
All right. Well, thank you. I
You're-
appreciate your time.
Good to see you again, Matt.
Good to see you, Mike. Take care.
Take care.
Okay, last month we talked about application requirements to help the staking and all. I had a brief conversation with Justin earlier. Some of you might have been in on the meeting when we were talking, whether or not we want to proceed with a motion tonight, or if we wanted to go with a resolution. I did talk to Sean, and Sean said that both Nick and Justin and himself have been talking about this. And I personally had told both of them I would feel more comfortable if they were to guide us on what we're saying, so that everything is completely covered and there's none of this like, oh my gosh, we didn't think about this. And now we have another step to take a hurdle on. In my own personal opinion, a motion is a motion. And I know that it's the same as a resolution, but a resolution has so much more weight in my personal opinion. And that's just a former clerk talking. So I don't know what we want to do. I mean, I'd also thought if we took no action until our December meeting, then we could start the new year off with it right on the table with new cases coming in. So
I do believe that a resolution is better. And for the thing that I mentioned before the meeting began, that, I mean, it's nice and convenient to be able to pull it out and just say, this is the resolution.
exactly.
Better than, well, they passed something.
Well, a motion is talking, resolution is piece of paper, is the way I look at it. But but that's just my personal opinion. And I don't know whether we want to go further with this tonight, or if we want staff to draw something up and they put in a packet for us and we review it before making the decision. I'm only one person here, even though I'm the one that has all the weight and everything. And I mean that literally as well as figuratively. It's up to you guys. So
I prefer the resolution. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I think the planning department, they're the experts, and we like to have their guidance. So I'm agreeing with Joe.
thank you. Debbie, were you going to say something?
I just wanted to say, are we, is this for a state survey for every non-conforming?
Well, that's where I'm hesitant. I mean, if it's a simple, straight up, no encroachments like there is tonight, their last case, then my feelings are, let us give the planning department and if we had to, the building department, the ability to make that decision whether or not they require a stake survey. I mean, I can't see doing a stake survey just because we say we want a stake survey, if is in their professional opinion, it's not necessary and it's a waste of time and it's a waste of money. But on the other hand, if they look at it and they see, well, we need to know everything, we need a stake survey, I'd rather let them make that decision. And I would just feel more comfortable letting them give us proposed wording and let us decide whether that's the wording we want to take forward or if we want to discuss and make changes.
If you're interested, I have a sneak peek of some language that's in the form of a motion, and I can just put it out there for comment with no action tonight. And if there's tweaks, we can make that, or any input that you have, I can incorporate it into a resolution for a future meeting. So if you want to see it, I can
Spoiler
put it up on
alert.
the screen.
Yeah.
Yep, put it up.
Okay,
I'm putting my glasses back on.
Let me see if I can.
I'm moving them down my nose. We're getting serious now.
So I think while he's pulling that up, I don't think we need applicants to hire a surveyor to stake out an addition. I mean, measuring it off of the home and putting the paint down and putting the stake in the corners, that's close enough for me. But for side lot lines where we have major setback issues along the side lot lines, then quite frankly, that's probably a decision to have to require a staked, licensed surveyor to stake it out.
Right, and I would rather the planning department review it and make that decision.
I agree.
So on the screen is some language that I threw together as before this meeting tonight. The planning director did say that this was, along the lines of being appropriate as a good place to start. And obviously we can tweak this and put it in a resolution. In a resolution, we would lay out why we were doing this, and it would be a little bit more detailed than just a motion. But I'll read for anyone who may be in the public that's just listening in. So pursuant to Article 7, Section 38 of the zoning ordinance, the Zoning Board of Appeals requires all appellants requesting a variance on a non-conforming parcel to provide a certified survey upon submission of an application to the township. The Zoning Board of Appeals authorizes the planning department to grant a waiver from the survey requirement at its discretion. The Zoning Board of Appeals reserves the right to modify the survey requirement in the future. So that seems to be an appropriate place to start on non-conforming parcels, and we can try this for a while and see how it goes. If we want to make changes along the way, we can. If we want to expand it to get surveys for any variance application, we can certainly do that in the future. But I think that this would be a good place to start, especially what we've seen in the last several months with projections into side lot lines and things like that.
But does it make sense also to add in there about address, home address clearly marked? Because I can't tell you how many times through the course of a few years that driven by back and forth because it's not, the address isn't noted on the mailbox, or it's missing, or it's further down, and so it's.
We can make that.
Sense to do something along.
We can we can clarify that on our variance application. I don't think that necessarily needs to be in the motion. Just like the staking of additions, we already have language for that, so we can just strengthen what we have. That doesn't need a motion or a resolution. But this is a more serious policy decision that probably requires a motion or a resolution.
So then the question that I have, just not about the language itself, this feels right to me. Maybe this is more a question for Mike with as a trustee. I mean, do we have binding authority to pass a resolution like this that makes policy, or does that have to actually? Okay.
The zoning ordinance, that Article 7, Section 38 allows the board to, if you wanted to, you could compel testimony. You have pretty broad authority.
That sounds fun.
So
the debates are on in 33 minutes, so you might get some ideas.
You have the ability, if a survey is needed, if there's some, building plans that you need, anything that the board needs to, the ordinance says investigate a matter. You have the authority by ordinance to require it. So it is a policy decision that the board can make, the zoning board can make.
That's good to know. Thank you.
And I'm assuming, Justin, that anything that you guys think of, you'll at least verbally run it past Lisa to make sure that the attorneys are okay with it.
We're not going to be breaking any laws.
I know. I just wanted to go on the record as making sure that everybody knows that.
Of course. Yeah. Like I said, it's every community does it different, and we can, like I said, I think this would be a good way just to test the waters. So we're not coming out and saying you must have a survey if you come before the Zoning Board of Appeals, or we're not even taking your application. This is, a sampling of applications that come in will require a survey, and then there's language in here that staff can grant a waiver at its discretion. So if it's a non-conforming part, because sometimes you have a non-conforming parcel that's 1.5 acres in size, but at the street line it's non-conforming. So if we see a house in the middle of 1.5 acre parcel, but it's still non-conforming because it only has 50 feet in width of the street line, well, that might be a case where we say, okay, well, we can grant a waiver. So obviously we're going to try to be fair and we want all the applicants or all residents of the township to be able to improve their properties. So we're not trying to be stringent or prohibitive, but we're just trying to take the liability off of us when we get hand-drawn plans, and there's mortgage surveys that, aren't accurate. It puts the liability on staff and on the board when we say, oh, well, this is okay. And if someone comes back later and it's discovered it's not, then that's on us. So we're just
Right.
trying to legally protect ourselves by taking this action.
Right.
And quite frankly, we're trying to save an applicant from a real mess. If we grant a variance,
Yeah.
and he really needed a 2-foot variance and he only got an 18-inch variance, he has to start all over again, or
Right.
he's built something and not in compliance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. This seems like a easy, better way to put our toe in the water and not begin with compelling testimony.
I agree. I agree.
I read that in the ordinance when I was looking at this, and I'm like, okay, well, let's get the subpoenas ready. So
Well, I've been in court many a time, so I can go up there and take care of it if you want. What I did for a living in the zoning department,
Yeah.
Our next meeting is December 10th. Do we have cases?
oh yeah, we got a handful.
Oh, no, no.
What are we up to? What are we up to now? How many?
I believe we're at 4.
Plus the one tonight.
Yeah.
Plus the one tonight.
And the
I think
one from the other night too, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask about our tabled one from Joanna Kay.
yeah, they'll be back. I did speak with him. He was, very appreciative of the feedback that he did receive, and he doesn't plan on moving forward until the spring, so the timing is not an issue for him. And
Okay.
he fully understands, and there's no ill will towards the township.
Oh, good. So I didn't take a contract out on any of us.
Yeah, I didn't have to look over my shoulder when I walked to the parking lot. So
Oh, good. Because I'm having the police watch me watch my car tonight, but okay, then, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a support?
Support.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Okay.
All in favor?
Thanks,
All in favor?
yeah,
Aye.
let's vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Have a good evening.
Thank
Go
you,
enjoy the
everyone.
debates.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Aye.
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I need to